Yeah, a little upgrade. Hey, hey, hey.
Are we on?
Yes, we are. I believe we are. We'll know in a minute if Gene signs on.
Yeah, that's true.
So, hey, y'all, this is the Jimmy Doan Show. We are coming to you live. Hey, Uncle Bill. Yeah, we're live.
All right.
So, we do this twice a week these days, 4 o'clock, right here. We stream it, and then I post it on YouTube and Twitter. Nice time-stamped subjects. Today is the 23rd of December, 2 days before the great holiday of Christmas. This is Jimmy Doan Show. I'm Counselor Curtis, and I'm here with Jimmy Doan.
I'm Jimmy Doan. All right.
So, what is going on today?
Well, we got a few things.
Okay.
One, I thought this was kind of interesting. It had to do with a kind of a terrorism thing.
Uh-huh.
They closed Gatwick.
Oh,
Airport
right, because of the drones.
Because of the drones. Can you imagine? And I mean, you talk about thousands. How easy is it to disrupt travel? I mean, all over the world. I mean, Gatwick is like the place where Europe and America and everybody all joined together. They closed it down because there were some drones flying over. What they did is they arrested 2 people.
Yeah.
They crashed in there. They tore them up. They tore the house apart looking for stuff, and they held them for 36 hours. Said, no, sorry. And then
so sorry.
So sorry. It wasn't you, somebody else.
Buttle. It was Buttle, not Tuttles.
That's right, exactly. So, but I mean, it was phenomenal to see what damage could be done with at the most $1,000 drone. I mean, that's the good ones.
Planes are vulnerable.
I guess
they're going to have sharpshooters or some EMP bursting thing. That's not exactly what you want around an airport, though.
I was going to say, the guys coming in on the ILS, it'd be like in one of the diehards where they artificially lowered the horizon. No, I just thought it was interesting.
It's going to be drones are going to change the landscape.
We talked about this before about a plethora of drones coming onto the White House, for instance.
Yeah.
I mean, how easy could that be?
A swarm, like you say. I was reading about aircraft carrier today, and they were talking about how aircraft carrier obviously have to adapt, or they're vulnerable to the new hypersonic craft and these land-based ballistic missiles that can go 2,000 miles and sink the ship, and it just makes sense. And they were saying, well, we're going to have escorts, fighter escorts,
right,
and such. But like you said, you send a swarm of drones up there to fly into the engines of the escort fighters. Like, forget about targeting. Just get in the way.
Yeah.
Or you do a little cloud bursty thing where it's just a bunch of metal shards or something. Warfare's going to be different this time around.
Yeah.
If they can get they still have some technical problems with the life of the drone, that is the flight time.
Right.
And also, I would imagine they have pretty low altitude levels. Again, where's our engineer?
Yeah, right. No, I think that, they're basically 4-engine helicopters to a large extent, and so they can go up pretty high, I think.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, the helicopters that are designed for it can make it up past 10,000 feet, but those are big blades, huge blades and everything. But you're right. I mean, the fact is that as the air gets thinner, helicopters no-go.
Yeah.
So, not like anything else. So, but at any rate, it was interesting, I thought, that they, when you looked at, when they were talking about this, and what they did to these poor people, I mean, it turns out that they happened to, somebody reported them as maybe they thought they were out someplace doing. A couple of years ago, it turns out he's a
model airplane enthusiast.
Yeah, right, model airplane enthusiast, and he'd given it up sometime.
Those people.
But one of the neighbors had seen him out in his backyard with a helicopter about 2 or 3 years ago. So they called up.
That's how they report. That's how they found it 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. A neighbor
That's
called
pretty
up.
Scary.
Okay, well, the big news, of course, right now is the lockdown. I mean, the shutdown. Right, the shutdown.
The wall.
Yeah. Well, I really thought. Did we make a projection on that? Did we say?
Well, yeah, we've gone back and forth because it seemed like Trump pulled the chute on his desire or willingness to shut it down, and then he shut it down anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. To me, this is a losing bid. This is he came out and he said, I will own the shutdown on national TV, live in front of everybody. It's recorded everywhere. Everybody saw it. And now he has to say, it's them.
It's Chucky.
It's
Chucky Schumer.
It's just such a quick reversal. It does not help.
Does this all the, this is one of the things that is part of his winning strategy or whatever you want.
Well, this is the losing part of his winning strategy, though. To me, this is look, this is a stark one. I mean, anybody who doesn't even pay attention to politics can see. 2 weeks ago, he said, I'll own the shutdown. And now he's saying, and look, and then he goes back before that. 2 years ago, he said Mexico's going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Now, the government is shutting down because we're not paying for it. How does that doesn't jive either.
Nope.
And that was a big campaign issue. I mean, that's a kind of a read my lips, Mexico's going to pay for the wall kind of a thing. And
so what do you think the result's going to be? Is this going to mean he doesn't get reelected in 20?
No, I don't think it'll hurt him that bad. This is a momentary little glitch, and I don't know. I don't know if he's doing this to sort of throw a bone to the base or something.
No question about it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
Well, he's trying to get Ann Coulter back on.
Right, exactly. So he lost some hardcore people, I think, that he did not like losing.
No,
and he decided, you know what, I'm in this fight. But I think it's a silly proposition because he allowed them to brand it the Trump shutdown and pretty effectively. And
well, the thing about it though is when you realize what is being shut
I
down.
know it's a jokey joke.
It's a joke. Here's the deal. It has the entire government shut down. About 3/4 of the federal budget has been funded through next September.
Okay.
That's 3/4 of it. And it includes the Pentagon, Department of Veterans Affairs, and Department of Health and Human Services. How many federal workers are affected? The remaining quarter of the government lacks funding. Includes the state, justice, treasury, transportation, homeland security, but not all of that. I mean, some of it, but not all of it. It says about 800,000 out of the 2.1 million workers.
Well, and also, as we know, when they reinstate the government, everybody gets back pay.
Everybody gets their back pay, right?
And
now, if this will be like a gift from heaven. What you do is you go home to your wife and kids, and you say, "Kids, no Christmas.
No Christmas today." That's right.
Not my fault.
That's right. And then you get to buy everything on sale.
Exactly. That's the whole point. Mm-hmm. You get this big fat check, about the beginning of January, and I mean, it is.
Yeah,
you get everything at a half or a third of price.
I don't know why you would fight over this pawn.
You don't, and just to say so. Anyway, a lot of people. Who else stays on the job? Federal prisons, immigration enforcement, weather forecasts, inspecting meat and poultry, Food and Drug Administration, FBI, drug enforcement, so forth, so on. Firearms and explosives, and the weather forecasters all stay on.
The weather forecast.
Yeah. Well, they have the Coast Guard, Border Patrol, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and the National Weather Services forecasters, among others. Mm-hmm. So the fact is that it's some of the Smithsonian has been funded through January 2nd or something, and but still they're going to lock the doors on some of this stuff as they've done before in something like the Smithsonian or whatever. But I mean it's January. People are going to be home. January, it's cold. Who's going to drive all the way from Texas to there to see or fly it in? Let's go tour Washington in the dead of winter.
Well, that's when you get the snowbirds will show up and the people from the north. Hey, it's summer to them.
We get not in Washington. It isn't. I got news for you.
Okay.
I grew up there.
Okay, I said okay.
I remember trudging through snow to deliver newspapers.
Uphill both ways to school, I remember.
Yeah, both ways to school. Okay, another thing that the feds have decided to do, they did not. One of the things that is interesting, I was reading some quotes here earlier, and that is, there's nothing that the feds can do with any program except make it worse. I mean, every time and then what they do is they're the ones that are going to fix it.
Well, what's silly about the Fed, just on its face, is the dual mandate.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how do you have?
I'm not talking about the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Oh, you're
I'm talking
not.
about the federal government.
Oh, what? What do you? Okay.
Okay.
Right.
The Feds, the federal government has
The Feds.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Feds moves to regulate legal sports betting.
Okay.
Now, apparently, last May, in January, the New Jersey won a Supreme Court case that said, it's okay for us to do online betting or something like that. Well, needless to say, a lot of states are jumping in on this, and they're saying, "Boy, because this is another revenue gatherer, like the marijuana."
Sure.
So we're gonna take our cut. We're going to take our tithe, or our double tithe, or triple tithe, whatever they get, so generate millions in revenue. But anyway, Charles Schumer and Orrin Hatch, two of our people, whatever it is, they would have the U.S. Justice Department set minimum standards for states to offer sports betting. When I knew that Congress had an obligation to ensure that the integrity of the games we love was never compromised. Now, what's interesting is that we've had sports betting forever. I mean, you could always, in Las Vegas,
Right.
you could always do it for 20, 30, 40 years.
Right.
Had entire parlors. They had off-track betting, of course, in New York for a long time. You could go, and it seemed to be okay.
But the people in Vegas would never try to inappropriately influence.
Well,
Yeah,
right. Well, but I mean, the point is that
no, you're right. I mean,
they've been doing it, and so let me
of
put it this way:
course. Look, it's always a danger, but you can't worry about it.
no. And the fact is that if that kind of stuff, there's a couple things to think about.
Soccer.
Soccer.
Well, didn't you? Soccer or international rules football or whatever. They just had a gigantic scandal about the whole thing where it's apparently rigged from the top down. The top guy got indicted and removed and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And the big scandals and they're determining, as one would figure, matches have been rigged and
That's all the FIFA stuff.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, that's over there.
Well, same thing though. I mean, that's what they're worried about. But look, I'm not worried about it.
I'm not worried about it a bit.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that's interesting is the market figures all this stuff out, and
The people got busted.
they got busted. Number one, and as powerful as they were, they got busted. But when you think about the people that do the spreads, for instance, on all this stuff like this, I mean, there's thousands of games, every month or 2 months or whatever it is, and everybody's doing the spreads and the same thing. They do the handicapping and everything.
It's remarkable.
It is unbelievable. I mean, it's a lot of this stuff is real computer generated stuff.
I know. I see the betting lines. It's so interesting. The minus 120 and plus 110 or whatever on the fighters for.
I like the one in Big Bang. Not Big Bang. It was in Young Sheldon, where the grandma says, because Young Sheldon is so smart, can you give me the spread? I just want to beat the spread.
Right.
So anyway, he was in there doing his calculations on, 42% of the time, blah, 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 whatever.
Bet on black.
So anyway, Congress has they have a set of, this is what it's called, the Sports Wagering Market Integrity Act of 2018.
Oh God.
Well, of course, it'll be of 2019 by the time they get to it.
Well,
we have to establish the Congress now. Okay, here are the guys that never cheat. Okay, a strong national integrity standard for sports betting that will protect consumers and the games themselves from corruption. Well,
you just hate to read that in the reverse.
Yeah, right. Well, everybody talks about the 1919 Black Sox, Red Sox, White Sox, whatever it is, thing that brought on Landis, whatever, as a judge. What was his name? Something Landis? He had a funny name.
Landis is pretty funny.
No. It was something like, oh God, I don't know. It was a, homeschooled Landis or some crazy thing. Anyway, whatever. The legislation we've introduced today is this is what I like, is a combination of 8 months of high-level meetings, very top people.
Right.
High-level meetings, discussions, and negotiations. Okay. And it will serve as the placeholder for the next Congress should they decide to continue to work on this. Well, it's high level. These are the people that
Top men.
men. That's right. What kind of people? Top men. Right out of the
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones, right? All right. Next thing, bad news for people.
Bad news.
Bad news. Skyrocketing seat selection fees enrage flyers and enrich the airlines. Now, this is one of the things that like the banking industry, for instance, once you get into this kind of, well, the banking industry unfortunately is regulated a little bit by the Fed. So in order to make any money now, it's at $40 for a bounce check or something.
Right. They've a huge amount of their revenue now comes from fees.
Right, exactly.
Up to a third or something.
Well, so now it turns out that the seat choosing fees, there's nothing special about aisle 18D on Delta Airlines flight 2876 from Atlanta to New York. It's an ordinary aisle seat on American Airlines, but two, it'll cost you $39 more one way.
Aisle seat? They just said.
Well, that's right, but it's an ordinary aisle seat.
Aisle seat? That's like saying it's an ordinary special seat.
Well, except for the fact that the aisle seat right in back of it and the one in front of it does not command this $39.
Well, then how do they get the $39?
They have done statistical analysis, and they have figured out what seats are the ones that are the most desirable ones.
And therefore, it is more valuable to the purchaser. I mean, it's probably something like 18. So what, like right on the wing or something? People feel safer or something, or they're thinking they're going to pull the emergency exit and be the first one out onto the wing and down the raft slide or something.
Well, what's happened with this, of course, is there was a story about this one guy. The reservation's going to go up to $40 or $50 to get a particular seat when you sign up.
I would imagine.
And this is like in sardine class. I don't know when you start to add those fees up what you're going to be paying for.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you got a baggage check fee.
I know. I was just going to say.
Well,
and then there's
$40
parking and the
parking, right?
Your bellman. There's a million things. You can rent those carts to push your bags through the thing.
Yeah.
If you go first class, so to speak, it's way more expensive.
Well, they said, for instance, that some people that have the elite tickets that allow them for an upgrade, it turns out they don't work anymore. You still have to pay sometimes, even when you're one of those people. If you're a not if you're a million miler or something,
right.
but apparently they had some stories in this article about people who thought they were getting a better seat. They paid extra money for it and found out no, it wasn't anything special or neat, and they wanted a refund, and the airline said no.
You made it.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
I saw on the flip side a new 777 room with a full, looked like a queen size bed, and in a freaking bedroom, like a big bedroom is what it looked like. That was the suite.
Yeah, well, some of the Singapore and Emirates and people like that have that kind of stuff. And Emirates, if you happen to be a multi-billionaire Arab, you get that. But it's interesting because when airplanes first started to go commercial, they had beds on them. If you look at
before the feds got involved or something.
That's a good question. I don't know. This is in the 30s,
right?
And I don't know when the FAA came along, but the fact was that very shortly after commercial flight, they would convert, I think, DC-3s, believe it or not, tail draggers, which held like 30 or 40 people total, but they converted them into beds for people that wanted to. Now, don't get me wrong. Flying was expensive anyway back in those days. I don't care what kind of regulation you might have had.
Now they freaking wake you up if you're sleeping on, we're getting ready to land.
Yeah,
Why don't you just sleep through the fiery crash?
Yeah, right. Well, it is interesting because they do have, when they have the night flights and that, the red-eye specials or something like that, they dim the lights. And of course they have a deal where you're really supposed to close your window.
Yeah.
Shade, so you don't offend anybody else on the airplane.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that when I was watching this documentary on the DC-3, I think, or the evolution of commercial flights, and they used to have literally beds on this planes, and it's like a one on a train. It's on one side or the other, or whatever it is, and so now they've come full circle, I guess. I mean, you can pay now for. They have the big advantage on some of these is you can actually put the seat all the way back. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, what I'm hoping for in the future, in the not too distant future, well, maybe distant, medium distant future, when they get the drone thing figured out, so that they got the hexacopters basically, then you'll have like a room of your house that will be like your transportation pod. It'll all be super lightweight and it'll be detachable straight out of the roof basically, and you'll have your
go.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
You'll have your hexacopter, the props and everything on the roof. So you'll walk into this room. It'll be like a bathroom or a Wonkavator basically, and you'll hit the switch. You'll say, "Take me to your leader," or the Emerald City or whatever, and it'll basically just lift you out of there and fly you along the flight path to where you're going.
And batteries run out in 30 minutes.
Well, this is I don't know, but this is the post-Mr. Fusion or something. I don't know.
All right. Well, very good. Good deal.
Medium distance.
Yeah. Then another thing that the Senate Democrats have decided to do is they want to see a role in Congress for curbing harassment. Now, what's interesting is that Congress itself, and up until I don't know if they still have it, but they have a slush fund. They've had in years past a slush fund of taxpayer money to if there had been harassment of interns or something like that, like by the Congress people, they would pay.
They give you a little.
They would pay. They can write $1 million or something.
Yeah. Well, lots of money has been paid out of that fund.
Right, I know, lots and lots and lots. Well, now apparently now that a couple of them have lost their jobs or whatever because of this, what's his name? He's coming back. The comedian guy up in Minnesota.
Oh yeah. Al Franken.
Yeah, he's doing a comeback. Anyway, they said that they should. Senate Democrats said that they should take an active role in addressing harassment and discrimination in the American workplace, and cited fear of retaliation as the leading cause for claims going unreported. Now we have a whistleblower law already, but it's not. It's boy, talk about something that is not observed. So when you,
well, yeah, I
mean, there's all kinds of retaliation, and I don't care how many laws you pass. If you're an underling, and you get harassed, you either quit the job and go someplace else or whatever. I mean, you don't report it. You can't. I mean, you're going to get
trounced.
Trounced. Yeah.
Right. You're going to get steamrolled.
You're going to get blacklisted.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you're certainly not going to get the recommendation. When you go to get the new job. Where was your last employment?
Give them a call.
Yeah, give them a call. Right? No, they're going to say bad things about me.
Well, and of course that's why we have the whistleblower statutes. But you're absolutely right. It's a very Well, I shouldn't say. I mean, it would be nice if there could be something that would solve that problem. I haven't thought about it in particular, but obviously those statutes have not made a major impact.
Well, see, in this, of course, the beauty is here's a problem, and then Congress has decided they're going to fix it. They're smarter than the market. There are 500 people in Congress that are smarter than the market in figuring
the market?
Well, the market will figure it out one way or the other. I mean, look, harassment to a large extent is a fact of life.
Well, it's also an expense that companies put on their bottom line in terms of their legal expenses after they get to a certain size.
Right.
So there's a market influence. You can't have a corporate culture of rape, or you'll get sued out of existence.
Well, in fact, that's what was the problem with Uber. You remember they had a corporate culture that was real. I think the CEO had to get fired or something because there was a corporate culture of harassment in headquarters. It was a big scandal.
Okay, I was thinking, how does it trickle down to the driver?
Headquarters.
Okay,
and of course,
feel free to harass your passengers.
Well, no, they didn't have that. But what's interesting is that ostensibly, of course, all the drivers get cleared. They do background checks and everything before you can become an Uber driver.
I knew they did them to some extent, or for some of the services. I didn't know if Lyft and Uber.
Well, I know Uber did because I had to give them all kinds of stuff.
That's why you got denied.
Yeah, right. No, probably should have been, but no.
That's right.
No, I'm getting too old. To be denied. But the point is that the report proposes to expand federal protections to include employees at small businesses, independent contractors, and interns. Now, one of the things that we've seen, and it also suggests making it clear that LGBTQXYZ individuals are protected under federal civil rights laws. So the point being that I think this is one of those things that you can go past another law. It's going to maybe be selectively enforced. I don't know. But the simple fact is this. If you happen to be a good-looking babe, for instance, or
you're going to get harassed.
You're going to get harassed. I mean, it might be very subtle. You know, it'll be kind of sideways looks or something like this. But, you know, what happens, of course, in that companies now will set up their own in-house prohibitions. You can't date anybody. You can't do that. You're not supposed to have relatives in there anyway. But you can't date your co-workers, and you certainly can't date anybody under you.
Right.
Unless they're under you. No. And but the point is, this is one of the things that is happening with this sort of thing, is that men, as we talked about one time before, are panic-stricken about anything. I mean, because if you look wrong at somebody, or the next thing you know, you get reported to HR, and they're literally fear of a harassment that's not a harassment.
Better watch out.
Well, it says here, but attention needs to be paid to pervasive harassment and abuse of low-wage workers who are particularly vulnerable and often feel unable to speak out. That's right. You just, if you're working, you're at your $12 an hour job, I mean, which is about probably the only one you can really get. I mean, you're not qualified for the $50 an hour job. You're a minion in the Amazon run down the aisle thing, something or another. I mean, you're not gonna report it. They just don't think so. You're gonna be out of there.
Well, what could happen more and more is if with the continued proliferation of recording devices, more and more people will get caught in ways like that. I mean, these days anybody can hit the record voice memo button on their phone and
you say that, but what's interesting, of course, in some jurisdictions that's illegal.
Yeah, like this one.
Yeah.
Although there are some exceptions to crime commissions recordings. If
well, we know of a friend of ours, for instance, who was accused of spousal abuse and lost his license.
Well, no, that was for different purposes and stuff.
Okay, well, forget it.
That's a special case.
Now, I thought this was kind of interesting, where people are asked, and this headline caught my eye. It says here, Russia, Turkey, and Iran renew the push for the new Syrian constitution.
Okay, let me explain this.
Okay, good.
What's going on here is...
This is weird.
No, this is... that's an advertisement for the Democrats. And basically, this is the blowback for Trump's proposed withdrawal from Syria, is that he has handed a victory to Syria, Erdogan, and Russia. That is, the message from the opposition to Trump is that he is doing this because he is at the behest of Putin and at the bending to the will of Erdogan and helping out Bashar Assad. It's a lose because these people are winning.
But I don't understand. They have a committee charged with writing a new Syrian constitution. Will start to work next year. These three countries that are not Syria are going to write a constitution for Syria.
Well, Russia is heavily involved in Syria, obviously.
I know, and of course,
and Turkey is
right on the border,
right?
And so is Iran, or one of them.
Iraq, right?
I forget. Just one letter makes all the difference in the world. So I probably should know. But it's a. What are they doing writing a constitution for another country, for a sovereign country? And part of it was I think they want to get rid of Bashar. I mean, the Damascus government, which is backed by Moscow and Tehran, has not yet agreed to the committee, saying it will only support a process that alters Syria's existing constitution.
Yeah, see, this is their effort to have some legitimate takeover of the country. They're trying. This is you know what? We're nobly writing this constitution for the country. We're not taking it over. We're not ousting the people that we want to
oust. Except that the Constitution is the law of the land.
That's right.
And somebody outside your land is writing it.
I'm with you, but
a committee.
I'm
a committee that doesn't even speak your language.
You have cold busted them, in my opinion. Okay, I think you've nailed them. But that's their advertisement. That's their pitch. Is hey, we're helping out here. I'll bet you there's guaranteed free health care in that freaking Constitution.
Boy, you're right about that.
I bet you there will be.
No, you're probably right. Guaranteed single payer.
There's guaranteed free health care in the Iraqi Constitution right now for everybody in Iraq. It's working out great for them.
Yeah, right. Well,
I mean, not.
Yeah, right.
But it's in there. It's guaranteed.
Well, I saw it was same thing is guaranteed down. I'll never forget. I think I've talked about this before when I was down in Guatemala for a month to learn Espanol. The day I got down there on a Saturday. That Monday, the healthcare prescription expired. You could walk in with your card on Monday and say, I need my pills, and they say, no mas. And I mean, this, but it's guaranteed. It says right here, it's guaranteed. Yeah, well, we don't have them. Turned out that they'd outsourced it to some Finnish place that had ripped them off or something. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. The point is, if you've got universal health care, but you can't get to it, or it's packed to the eyeballs in the emergency room or something, you might as well not have it.
Speaking of Syria, or did you have more on the?
Nope.
Well, did you want to
say something else about Syria?
Well, I just wanted
you mean about the withdrawal?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, totally. This was amazing to me. Amazing. The people that thought. I mean, this also had to do with what's his name, who retired, Mattis.
Right. And he wrote the resignation
letter. Did you
letter.
See that letter?
Yeah, it was obviously a expletive-laden tirade. No, it was.
It was not.
It was fine.
But I mean, it was crap. I thought, because what I mean is it was praised by so many people to show the divide,
right,
between, and here's a guy who stood up for principle, and no, the principle sucked. The simple fact is,
right. Well,
the thing is, he wanted to stay in there killing people. And this guy didn't have a track record that was all that great. He happened to be a general and everything, but if you could look back on some of the stuff that he did, it wasn't all that great. But I was listening to, let me just finish up here. I was listening to the McLaughlin group today, and they asked Eleanor Clift, and she said, boy, he shouldn't have gone. He was the one sane adult in the administration and everything, and we need to stay in there. What's going to happen now? I'm going, Eleanor, I mean, who are you? And it's amazing how many people we know at one point. I mean, what's his name? Our previous president said we're going to get out of there.
Right.
Didn't. And so now Trump, waited 2 years.
Right.
And it's getting out, as well he should.
Well, the knock on the removal and the response to what you're saying is, it's not that we didn't want to get out, it's the way he got out.
Right.
But there is no good way.
No, there isn't. And not only that, I don't think he could have done it any other way.
No, there is no other way.
He had to go in and do the executive commander-in-chief, because if he'd left it up to anybody else, they said, no, we're not going.
Well, and not only that, but the negativity that's associated with leaving, that General Mattis objects to, is the abandoning of our allies that we promised we would not abandon upon our arrival. And, when we were fighting this war, as the entire time we have been going out into the various tribes and warlords and saying, look, if you side with us, we got you, we're going to be here and see this thing through, because if we leave, of course, they get slaughtered.
Well, maybe not.
Well, maybe not, but look, and that's Mattis's point, okay?
Yeah, but he's a general.
No,
he's a fighting general.
I'm with you, and well, not only that, but he's probably the guy that went and made the deals.
Right.
Or he was probably in the room. I guarantee you, he's had personal relationships with some of these people.
Right.
And that's why you resign, because you have to. If you're him, you have to be like, I'm disgusted with this. He's breaking all of our promises, and I will resign. That's what it's almost like he has to do that. Somebody has to take the fall as the person who made the wrong call. But that is the wrong call. That is to say, from my perspective, we have no business being there because there's no strategic advantage at all that I can see.
Hey, well, they're going to have a new constitution.
Huh?
They got 3 other countries that are giving a new constitution. Syria.
Yeah.
So, whatever. Might as well get out of there before they do that. It's interesting because we have kind of a history of abandoning our ally in Vietnam.
Oh yeah, no, we've done it every time. That's why. Boom. Look, no, that's why.
Helicopters off the roof, and the people who helped us in, please come back.
Right off the roof, man. No, look, that is why. When they went in to Iraq last time, and Afghanistan, and Syria, every time we go and we say, listen. This time we're not going to abandon you guys.
Yeah.
Really, seriously, every single time, and every time. Of course we abandoned, because we've talked about so many times on the show, you've only got 2 choices. Either you stay forever, or at some point you leave. And the longer you stay, if you're going to leave, the worse things are when you finally leave, it seems like.
Well, it was interesting because people said, gosh, we've been in, Germany for 70 or 80 years, and we don't leave them. Well, a little different, but I mean, why not? Of course, my thing is, why not?
Well, that's right, exactly. And we should leave. And
now we're
sure the Germans would, and that would be their argument on their side, would be, look, you stay long enough to make sure if you leave that the East Germans don't take over. So that's happened. The country's unified. It took 40 years until 1989 or whatever for the wall to come down. After that, you leave. That's what their argument would be, is, okay, we just have to stay
because
in Syria.
Russia's going to invade.
Well, exactly. We just have to stay in Syria for another 30 years or 40 years until Russia completely capitulates and gets out, and the situation changes all around until our guys are the ones in power or whatever. And I'm with you. Look, we got a couple of thousand guys there. The word is going to.
Well, not only that, then of course, to add insult to injury, 7,000 troops just coming out of Afghanistan.
Well,
out of half of them.
Exactly. No, I want to mention that too. To me, these are some of the best things he's done.
Best. I mean, totally. I'm with you.
You just did double white power. You know that, right?
I mean, yeah, right. Exactly. I just am stunned when you think about that you're not really. Okay, are you abandoning? I'm not. Let's wait and see what happens. They're worried that the Turks are going to crush the Kurds now, for instance, who are allies. But
that will probably be the worst easily anticipated outcome, foreseeable. I mean, that's unfortunately the Kurds have, from my perspective, been on the right side of pretty much every battle over there up to this point.
They're trying to preserve their own culture.
Well, exactly.
That's the main thing.
And they got a pretty small group, and they're wedged in there. But my thought is this, and look, and Shapiro said the same thing, well, the Turks will slaughter the Kurds. I don't think so.
No.
Because if they were to launch a real offensive against the Kurds, our butts would be over there again in 2 seconds.
You think?
Yeah, or we would definitely wag our finger very sternly at Turkey and say, listen, you guys are our NATO ally, and don't beat up on your little neighbor there because we like them, and it's bad for our press or something. I don't think we would allow that. I don't think the international community would allow that. I don't think there would be a reciprocal slaughter by any of the Western powers, and I don't if we retreat from there, and I don't think that there was going to be any major strategic advantage gained by anyone like Russia, and I don't think that any power group like another concern is they're going to start funding terrorists out of the area. Like, look, man.
The terrorists are going to go up to Paris.
They're all over the place anyway. Like the war. I'm not in for fighting a war on terror indefinitely.
No. Syria. Well, I said this years ago when they first started it. I said they said we see no end in this. And I'm thinking,
Right. Well, and the
you
way
don't go
that
into a war without knowing how to get out of
well,
it.
no, and obviously the way it's even framed, it's a war on terror, which is a word from the dictionary. It can never be won because terror will always exist.
Well,
so
right.
you know,
It's not like there's a capital you can invade.
right, the capital of terror. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So that to me, that argument's a straw man argument and fails. You know, it's
It
like,
does. Speaking of defense type war things, I thought this was interesting. In Sofia, in Bulgaria, Bulgaria's defense ministry asked the government on Friday to start direct talks with the United States on acquiring F-16 fighter jets to replace its aging Soviet MiG-29 planes. The acquisition will raise our combat capabilities of Bulgaria's Air Force to a new level, says the ministry. And I'm wondering, Bulgaria F-16 fighter. I mean, what was it the other day?
it's like Brazilian submarine.
The Brazilian submarine. What are you talking about here? I mean, you have to understand a couple of Stinger missiles will take some of this stuff out. The Bulgaria.
Our fighter jet.
Yeah, right.
Oh no. I don't know. I mean, the only thing when I hear
who's their enemy?
right. When I hear things like that in today's universe, I think that I think of a wealthy prince or something, you know.
Right.
We want a fighter jet, you know. I want to go
yeah.
up in it, you know, and so so he can bring his girlfriends there or something, you know.
Well, what's his name? The Shah, I think, was a fighter pilot or something.
Right. That's the kind of okay. I get that. If that's what you're doing with your $200 million fighter jet, you know, okay. You know, if you're
Hey,
doing
honey,
it to get
we're
laid.
doing the 10-mile high club.
That's right, the Mach 1 club. So yeah, but to defend Bulgaria, no.
Yeah, this is I thought it was funny, but of course, needless to say, the F-16. I don't know I forget who makes it, but but they must be just drooling at the thought that they could.
We got another buyer. Woo!
Yes, yeah, right, exactly. So I thought they want direct government to government talks and all that kind of stuff. So our government's going to maybe what we'll do with Israel, and that was we'll loan them
right, loan them the money to buy.
Yeah, loan them $1 billion and say, hey, Bulgaria has earmarked about $1 billion for the purchase of at least 8 fighter jets. 8 jets. I mean,
80 million.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, no offense, but we've got a regular old aircraft carrier out there that holds 40 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what are you talking about?
Got him.
Yeah. Oh my God. So anyway, that's good. Just real quick. There is a death this week. Penny Marshall.
Oh, we mentioned that last week. That was yeah.
Oh, was that last week?
Yeah.
Dead at 75. Okay. But anyway, I just thought she had such cult classic films as Big and A League of Their Own.
Yeah,
she directed this. Okay, I don't forget. Elon Musk has decided, he's unveiled his underground tunnel. He says will beat soul-destroying traffic. Yes,
I saw that. Sounds like a time for tech update music.
Okay. I just thought this was, the story was very short on details. What he did, apparently, he had a little short test where the tunnel was at 40 miles an hour or something, and it was over a mile or 2 or 3 or something like that. But this is supposed to be, 250 mile an hour, like the... When
250 miles an hour?
I think so, yeah. I think it's supposed to go up to about 250, I think.
Jesus.
What?
Well, it's as the crow flies. So even at 40 miles an hour, you're traveling at 2 or 3 times the speed of traffic on the surface.
Well, that's true. And of course they did, he mentioned that. Even at this 40 miles an hour, they said it would have taken, whatever it took, it would have been 3 times that just waiting to get out of the parking lot.
Seriously,
yeah.
I have traveled in LA traffic at the speed of a crawl.
Yeah.
At the speed of the parking lot at Publix.
Yeah.
For 40 miles or something. You
Really?
can. Yeah, oh yeah. 3.5 hours at 10 feet at a time.
I'll tell you, when I was out there driving around, I got around great.
Man, you get on the 405 at the wrong time. It's like,
no, but what I did was, it was really interesting, because what you do is you look for the helicopters,
Oh, right, yeah.
and then you dive off.
This wasn't even
go
an
around.
accident, man. This was just rush hour traffic at the wrong day, at the wrong time, in the wrong direction.
Well, I
on
was
the
there,
wrong
this must
freeway.
have been almost 30 years ago, so that was different.
Well, they had it back then too. I
Well,
remember.
I remember I got around pretty well. One of the things I did,
Yeah, well,
I
you're
did-
right. If you
I,
take
I
the-
did learn how to do the bluff.
The bluff.
Yeah, what you do is, I had a Cadillac.
Uh-huh.
So when I would just charge into the thing and they would get out of the way. It was great when you come onto the freeway.
Right. Oh, right.
Oh
Right.
yeah, no, I just bust on in there, and you'd get the occasional gun firing or something
Right.
like that. But it was a rental. What do I care?
Yeah. Right.
So anyway, he explained for the first time, which he calls the loop, could work on a larger scale beneath cities across the globe. Autonomous electric vehicles could be lowered into the system on wall-less elevators, which would be placed almost anywhere cars can go. The thing I'm looking at, though, is when you look at the amount of traffic, I mean, there are, 1 million cars at rush hour. So what is this tunnel business? So how many cars are you going to get in there at one time? They're going to have to join them. They're going to be autonomous. I know that,
Right.
but it's the engineering on this seems to me is quite amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
They have to be, of course, they have to be all electric because they don't want any smog or smoke or anything.
What, and can you imagine you go down there and you get stuck halfway down the elevator or something? Now, look, a couple of things we should point out. I mean, I'm sure he's figured out the logistics of the transportation, and it's probably going to be the premium. It's going to be like the 408 over down in Tampa, or excuse me, down in Orlando, which is
Right.
the toll road.
Yeah.
So okay, $20. You want to get to the airport in 30 minutes? No problem. $20.
Right.
So okay, and then you pull into your elevator and go down, and you're on your way, and then you get the premium travel. And apparently it's going to be quite safe even in earthquakes and such, because the tunnel moves itself with the ground. So and it's
That'll
already
be exciting.
well, it's already supporting the weight of, so nothing's going to fall on top of you or anything. So
Yeah. So you'd like to be the beta test on that one?
yeah, right. Yeah, no. See, I'm not going to be using the tunnel, I can tell you. But we'll see if it ever even gets completed. I think the entire project and business was created on kind of a lark.
May have been because
I've heard him in interviews say we were kind of joking about it, and somebody was like, "Well, you could do that."
Well, he has a company called the Tunnel or something.
The Boring Company.
Boring Company.
Yeah.
God, what a name!
I know.
He couldn't have named it any better. But they used, for this original tunnel, they used some other boring machine that they had used previously for something. But anyway, it'll be interesting, I guess, because it reminds me of a science fiction story one time where they had crisscrossing stuff underneath the thing, and what they did is they actually went into the fourth dimension or something in order so they wouldn't crash into each other.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only little minor problem was they had to.
His isn't that cool.
Yeah, no, it's not that cool. That's too bad. So anyway, they said they're going to have to be electric because of the fumes. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see, and they are going to apparently have some horizontal wheels or something that go along the wall of this thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, who knows? I mean, he's probably he's a smart guy, and obviously he's thought a lot about it. But boy, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Okay, speaking of cars, LA's housing crisis hits Hollywood. The entertainment workers are living in their cars.
Yeah, I saw that article.
I thought it was interesting because I'm just going to.
Yeah.
This girl, Noelle, 25, who is only using her first name because of some other reason. She's one of the 15,000, almost 16,000 Angelinos currently living in a vehicle. And what they do, and of course what they do is they have to search for parking places, where they stay overnight. The ranks growing amid a worsening income inequality and homelessness crisis. As of January 2018, just about a year ago, 9,000 vehicles were being used as homes, up from 600 the year previously.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that is amazing. That's like over 10, 50, that's 15 times.
That's a huge increase.
It's a huge increase, and I thought it was interesting because where they showed a couple of the vehicles.
Now, what were the 2 years there? 15 and 16?
No, they were 17 and 18.
Okay.
In 17, 600 homes, they figured, 600 vehicles.
Well, it's going to be different. The last time I was there was summer of 16, so I guess way up from then.
Yeah. No, they've gone crazy. And so anyway, apparently they find, they have to really, there are places where they can park. There's a couple places where they do allow overnight parking, but you still have to move around occasionally. She said her biggest problem is finding a place to park every couple of days.
Yeah.
And that'll be interesting to see how that works out. Of course, California, so who knows. But I just thought it was interesting that they showed her living spot. She had it was a little larger than an SUV, like as a real mini bus thing, kind of thing. And she had it all outfitted, but you still have to go wash up places, and there's all kinds of stuff that you can't do in their little. It's not fully blown.
There's obviously a huge bohemian culture out there, even in LA.
Yeah.
Venice Beach is just littered with people who are staying outdoors and in their cars, and again, that was 2016, so I can imagine if it's 15 times worse.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I want to make an announcement.
Okay.
For those of you who have not bought your Mega Million ticket, there's going to be a drawing on Christmas Day.
Really?
Christmas Day for $321 million.
Woo!
So I would imagine.
Is that a nationwide lottery or something?
I don't know. It's in a lot of different states.
Okay. The Northeast or something?
No. I think we have it here. I think.
Okay.
I don't know exactly 16 or 25 states or something in particular. That's why it's so huge. But the thing about it is, how many people do you think are, instead of getting a present, are going to
lotto
get,
tickets?
here's your $321 million, should you win?
Yeah.
So don't say I didn't give you anything.
Yeah.
And so that I would imagine that when it says $321 million, but I would bet you it's going to go up substantially, especially with this announcement and with our readership, and they're all right by 10.
Oh, geez, yeah.
I mean, our listenership.
When it hits the wave of people.
Boy, going after the latest. Now, I will tell you this much here, at least in Gainesville, you don't have to stand in a big long line at Publix.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah, but some other places, like the 7-Elevens and so forth, you usually have to wait outside.
Yeah.
So the other thing I thought was interesting, remember David Hogg?
Yeah.
He's a Parkland shooting survivor.
Yeah.
Who somebody said he wasn't actually there when the shooting.
Okay.
He came over right away. But he had more than his 15 minutes of fame. I can tell you, he was the guy that organized the 800-man march or something in Washington, and all kinds of stuff. Interestingly enough, he's been accepted to Harvard.
Right.
It's interesting because again, could be fake news. I don't know. Somebody was saying that he got like a 1271 or something on his whatever what is
SAT.
SATs, and when the average is 1496. But what Harvard has done, as you know, is they've really gone kind of crazy. They've lost their way. They're kind of Elizabeth Warren, I think she teaches up there, but I would guess that they got him on community activism or whatever it is.
Look, for a long time it's been a sort of, I don't know, little known secret or something that if you're famous, you can get into pretty much whatever college you want.
Well, he'd applied to a bunch of them in California. They all turned him down.
Well,
that was when
after he's famous.
It was before he was famous.
Right.
He said that was one of his complaints, was he applied to these other colleges,
right,
and they'd all turned him down. Well, not anymore.
That's right. Well, I mean, because they get to use that for advertising.
Oh yeah.
And so, it's unfortunate though that if he's that far out of their caliber.
Well, they'll give him some crib courses. Even Harvard probably has crib courses.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
But he's a spokes. He's famous like AOC.
No, I know.
You know, she's up there just.
Oh, she's a superstar. Like,
I mean, superstar.
She was 7 years older.
Yeah, right. Well, that's so funny because you know, they were saying they had their preferences. And one of the things had preferences for president, and she was on one of them, I think, someplace in there.
Yeah.
But you know, good luck on that. She has to be 35, so you got to wait.
Well, but their argument was it should be waived.
You're right.
Or
Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would probably take a constitutional amendment.
Yeah.
You can't just waive, even amendments, you can't wave them away.
That's right. We have an excuse?
Yeah, right, you have an excuse. So anyway, I thought that was interesting that he's going to get into Harvard. And yeah, he'll do fine, I guess. Now, here's something we've talked about previously, is the shale oil industry.
Okay.
The U.S. shale oil industry bloodbath spreads as oil price meltdown continues.
Okay.
Now, we've talked about this before, that the price of, if the OPEC or whoever it is tries to jack the price up, that the shale people come in, and they did.
Right.
They did come in. In other words, they were, you know, it was a desert land up there in North Dakota for a while, as everybody got laid off. Well, the price went up to $80, and they all jumped back in again. Well, now, especially in Canada, the sand shale or whatever, the spot price was $21 a barrel.
Whoa.
Yeah, right. I mean, seriously. I mean, you know, in fact, they were saying that it might dip to actually as low as zero for a little while because they had all this stuff that was in storage. You got to get rid of it. And so, but I mean, it was 21. Now, what happened was Alberta passed a thing that said they passed a law that said something about no more. They had to establish a base price, or they did something to the shale industry, and the price doubled like overnight. They restricted the output or number of companies or something, so it got up to around $40. But the bottom line is that West Texas crude is way under $50, and they're making money at under $50.
Yeah. I think that's the last figures that I saw is about that. But well,
the OPEC is desperately tried. This is one of the things that they talk about in Adam Smith. OPEC has tried to, you know, say we're going to cut back on our thing like this. And no, they're not. There's always people that cheat.
In the consortium.
Yeah. In other words, that's what, you know, as Adam Smith said in Wealth of Nations. He said when 2 or 3 companies get together and collude, that lasts about as long as the presidents can get back to their company and figure out how to uncollude. Yeah, right. Look, because those guys are going to hold the president, not us.
Yeah.
So it's. I thought it was interesting that.
Well, we'll see, because from what I understand, oil prices are largely governed by construction. That is to say, when there's an economic expansion and countries and cities and states big companies start large construction, then the transportation costs for those materials is what drives the price of oil.
I didn't know that, because I mean, when you think that you know, they're talking about, for instance, over this long week holiday or whatever it is, that there's going to be, you know, untold millions of people driving to see relatives.
Right. I don't think that's as big of an impact as if they start up something. At least that's what I've read. But we'll see.
We'll have to Google that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put a link to that. Anyway, that's pretty much what I've got.
Okay. Well, you bring us right in there. Hold on. I got one quick thing I want to discuss here.
Okay.
Which is let me just see here. Covered all this other stuff. It is broadly speaking the war on drugs. And there's a couple of different angles I want to pick up on here. So I'm going to bring us to the manufacturing zone of the drugs here. So,
where I'm out in a field somewhere.
Oh yeah, okay. So one of the drugs we're going to talk about is mushrooms. So you're in a cow field.
Okay, good.
So watch where you step there. I am in a hemp farm. This week, in maybe what could be the second best thing that Trump has done, is he signed, the Farm Bill.
Mm-hmm. All right, Farm Bill.
$867 billion. I know that's a different story.
Yeah.
But a provision in the Farm Bill, which Mitch McConnell inserted, makes hemp legal in the United States.
Great.
Yes. Now, there are two things about this. First, it's hemp that is non-psychoactive.
Right.
Okay, so it's stuff that like they would make canvas out of, which, as you know, I mean, I don't know.
Or
maybe,
burlap.
Right. Well, canvas, you may or may not know, the word canvas, it comes from cannabis. I mean,
Okay, I did not know that.
And so, I mean, that's what it used to be made out of. And of course, there are, paper, the implications for things like paper and rope and all kinds of things like that are staggering.
Right, they really are.
The planters are going nuts in North Carolina at this point now that the lid has been ripped off. They moved the jurisdiction for enforcement and regulation of cannabis. They didn't eliminate it completely. They moved it from the DEA over to the FDA.
Okay.
So it's now non-criminal. It's going to be just a completely different situation. So and it's been signed. So there it is. But there's a secondary angle which is maybe even cooler, which is that hemp, even though there's no psychoactive component, is where this new CBD oil comes from.
Okay.
And this is being hailed by everyone as the latest miracle snake oil, basically, but even better than snake oil. Because it actually works, apparently.
Apparently, a drop of this on your tongue cures epilepsy.
Right. You've seen the videos online of epileptics stopping their seizures, and I know personally, I have reports from people that talk about what their situation is and how it's improved for their children and such.
Right.
The industry is, of course, taking off. 32 states have decriminalized marijuana, for medical purposes, and I think 10 or 12 for recreational. But this may be even bigger in terms of an impact on the industry. So these two efforts together are tens of billions of dollars that are going to be added to the economies. Meanwhile, while we are backing off of the regulations here in the United States, also. The reason you're in the cow field there is because Oregon and Colorado we will have ballot initiatives in the near future which consider the reclassification of psilocybin mushrooms and the lowering of punishment associated with their possession and control, manufacture, and distribution. In other words, people are recognizing that as a medicinal plant as well. The shift is it's a tidal shift in the way that people are looking at drugs these days, which is long overdue.
What's fascinating, of course, we had a very dear friend of ours, God rest his soul, who used to spend a lot of time down in South America, going out back in the jungle and collecting plants for pharmaceutical companies, because so much of the stuff that the pharmaceutical companies do come from plants.
Oh yeah.
And that's, they love to investigate this stuff. So
plants have millions or billions of years of evolution, creating substances to deal with biological issues, which we may have analogous.
Penicillin is a mold. So, no, it's...
Yeah, and that's, to me, the biggest argument for preserving the rainforest is the biodiversity. I mean, those molecules are so unique. Once they're gone, you will never be able to think of the structure of a complicated molecule used for some sort of device, some sort of biological defense that a plant or something has, which we may have an analogous problem for.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's those two things. On the flip side, Rio de Janeiro is instituting death squads.
This is licensed to kill.
That's right.
These, your regular policemen, are
instead of going out to arrest people,
they go out to kill them.
That's right. And if they see you with a rifle, they just shoot you.
Yeah.
And like they shot some dude with an umbrella because they thought it was a rifle. But I mean, that's obviously a mistake. But it's interesting that this is instead of what they should have done was taking a hint from freaking Portugal, where they got their language.
Right, where they got their language.
And they should have legalized all the drugs that support the finances of the drug gangs which control the favelas, which they're about to go in and raid. And they know, it's so funny. They're talking about these drug traffickers. Oh, they've got they control these areas. Well, legalize the drugs. Hell, have a big giant drug giveaway or something. I mean, seriously, and wipe them out. But no, instead they're going to go in with guns. So what could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
And this in a country where sex is legal to buy. Okay. I mean, you could buy a girl, but don't try to buy. I don't know what drugs are illegal. I mean, I guess
the usual cadre.
Yeah.
The usual suspects.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like Duarte, whatever it was. So Duarte, whatever. Yeah, in the Philippines. But I mean, can you imagine license to kill? That is.
Yeah, they're gonna go on raids.
Well, it's interesting
in their own country.
And their own citizens.
Yeah.
And no, we've always talked about when a gun is in the equation, if something's wrong. And, you have two people, willing participants, and suddenly a third party comes along and says, no.
You give him the drugs.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Or not.
We'll see. Yeah, or not.
Okay.
Well, interesting. That's all I got.
Okay, well, we're right on time here. We're a little late, but that's okay.
All right, cool. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
We'll be back Wednesday.
So I got a few visitors here, Bill and Jack and Buddy and Jody and Robert. Good to see you guys. And I hope you enjoyed the show a little bit. This is Kevin MacLeod. He provides our audio entertainment these days. This is a track called Cold Funk. And here's our copyright license for it. You heard Matt's Blues earlier. And we do this twice a week these days, 4 o'clock. Join us if you can. Also, check us out on YouTube. I'll timestamp all the subjects. I'll post in about an hour or two. And we'll be back on Wednesday, day after
Christmas.
That's right.
Oh boy.
We're not taking a break.
No, hell no.
Hell no. So, all right. We'll see you soon.